Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now. Taking stock of the global market meltdown.
Essentially panic mode.
The Trump effect as finances plummet and job losses mount.
Today, at least, the advantage will be for the Liberals.
Tracking campaign promises and a widening gap in the polls. Plus, a shocking crash and grab caught on camera.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
The economic fallout is growing from Trump's reciprocal tariff plan. Recession fears heavy today with North American stocks plummeting. And new job numbers show the losses in this country, one of the biggest hits to the Canadian economy since January 2022. CTV's John Vanavai Rao on the sell-off as markets slam into a very scary gear, John.
Heather, this was another crushing day on the markets. The main index here in Toronto was down 4.5%. Over 2 days, that's a more than 9% plunge. And boy, the Dow in New York, it was down 2,200 points. For a second day, staggering stock losses with quadruple-digit plunges on both Toronto's main exchange and in New York.
Dow's down 1,700 points, S&P down 276 points.
As investors weighed the costs of tariffs, including new Chinese retaliatory tariffs of 34% on American imports.
There's a lot of fear. It was once famously said, there's blood flowing in the streets, and that's yesterday and today.
The stock rout continuing around the globe, especially hitting hard companies that manufacture in Asia, including Apple. While crude oil fell another 7% to its lowest level in 4 years amid broader economic fears. JP Morgan now thinks there's a 60% chance of a global recession this year if Trump's tariff plan continues. This is the U.S. president doubled down on it, writing on Truth Social, his policies will never change. While the U.S. Secretary of State denied economies are crashing.
I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States.
This as there are signs trade tariffs are working their way through the Canadian economy, which shed 33,000 jobs in March, the biggest drop in 3 years. The unemployment rate rising to 6.7%.
With the first round of tariffs and then a warning that a second round was coming, most businesses hit pause for the last month and only were hiring those critical roles.
And more job losses are expected. As for the tech-heavy Nasdaq, it has now lost 22% of its value since its record close in December, what Wall Street would officially call a bear market. Heather?
Another tough day, John. Thank you. The issue of corporate tax evasion continues to follow Liberal leader Mark Carney on his campaign. Today, the NDP is alleging that Brookfield Asset Management avoided paying billions in taxes during the time Carney sat on the board. CTV's Judy Trin is traveling with the Liberals. Judy, what is his response to the allegations?
Heather, Mark Carney continues to sidestep questions about his past job at Brookfield Asset Management and the use of tax havens. While in Montreal, Mark Carney was asked if it was ethical for Brookfield Asset Management, where he sat on the board, to use tax havens.
First off, I'm no longer at Brookfield. Secondly, this follows their arrangements follow the rules, including the tax rules of this country.
Carney resigned from Brookfield's board in mid-January to run as leader of the Liberals. Before that, he was head of impact investment for Brookfield, managing 2 green funds worth about $25 billion. CTV News reported that several entities of Brookfield's core business was registered to an address in Bermuda that also houses a bike shop.
Mark Carney, while he was the chair of this company, 4 out of 5 of their businesses were located above a bicycle shop in a small office in Bermuda. It almost sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud.
Referring to public documents, Singh says Brookfield, during Carney's tenure, avoided paying more than $5 billion in taxes.
$5.3 billion. What does that mean? Well, that's 50,000 nurses that could have been hired. That's streetcars, that's buses, that's public infrastructure, not only for the federal government, also for the provincial government.
For years, the Liberal Party has promised to make corporations pay their fair share. Carney said his global banking experience will help him find solutions.
I understand how the world works and the structure works.
But when asked when the Liberals will release policy to tighten corporate loopholes, Carney did not provide a timeline.
It's absolutely a priority of my government. If we are re-elected, it would be a priority of our government to ensure that our companies are paying their fair share of taxes.
While Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has also criticized Carney's actions at Brookfield, the Conservatives, like the Liberals, have not put forward a policy on how to tighten loopholes related to tax havens. Heather.
Judy Trin reporting. Thank you. The Conservatives confirming tonight they've dropped another candidate, Quebec's Simon Payette. This comes after he accused Liberal candidate Natalie Provost of playing, quote, the victim game in her quest for stronger gun control. Provost survived the 1989 École Polytechnique massacre. Meanwhile, the Liberal Party has dropped a second candidate from the election race. In a statement to CTV News, a party spokesperson confirmed Rod Loyola is no longer the candidate for Edmonton Gateway. No reasons were given, but it comes after the National Post says it asked the party questions about this 2009 video where he praises Hezbollah and Hamas, both designated terrorist groups. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre will introduce tougher sentences for those convicted of domestic abuse if he becomes Prime Minister. The announcement today also included several other measures to get tougher on intimate partner violence. CTV's Mike Lecouture joins us from the campaign trail. Mike, what else did Poilievre announce today?
Heather, while Pierre Poilievre spent some time in Quebec today, he was focused on the national problem of intimate partner violence. The Conservative leader calls it an epidemic and promised if he's elected, he will bring in tougher sentences of anyone convicted of related crimes. With victims of intimate partner violence behind him, Poilievre announced the Conservative government would implement three things. He wants to create a new offense in the criminal code for the assault of an intimate partner, which would include tougher sentences. Poilievre is also proposing stricter bail conditions for those accused of that type of crime. The Conservative leader even wants GPS ankle bracelet monitoring for people who are out on bail in those specific cases. Interestingly, one of the victims who spoke before Poilievre specifically said those types of devices are not a solution. Lastly, the Conservative leader says his government would make the killing of one's own child, an intimate partner, or a partner's child an automatic charge of first-degree murder. According to Statistics Canada, from 2014 to 2022, police reported intimate partner violence rates increased by 19% for women and girls. And Poilievre blames that on the previous Liberal government.
There is a time when bail laws focused on justice and public safety, when our laws kept the most dangerous behind bars. Now, easy bail and catch and release policies tip the scales in favor of the criminals and against the victims.
Victims' rights groups say they're happy to see the Conservatives talking about this today, and they hope that all parties will address it during this federal campaign. Heather?
All right, Mike, thank you. One of the tools being used by all parties to win your vote is social media. And the NDP has gone a step further, leveraging the reach of creators and influencers online by including them directly in the campaign. But that can have pitfalls too. CTV's Rachel Aiello has been looking inside at the strategy being enacted in this election. Rachel.
Heather, while elections can be won or lost based on a party's ground game, in this campaign, some leaders are also leveraging social media in hopes that voters will like and subscribe to what they have to say.
If you are a content creator, check this out. We have reserved a spot for you.
A federal election first. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is bringing online creators from a range of backgrounds aboard his campaign bus.
I froze my eggs.
The people who are getting the subsidies.
Filming content between campaign stops. The aim is to reach people who may not typically follow politics.
We want to use every tool to be able to speak to Canadians where they are. Right now, lots of folks are on social media. It's a way to connect with people.
It's an election outreach effort inspired by Kamala Harris's Democratic presidential bid. Though, the Singh team has already had to cut ties with one collaborator after past comments the party called disrespectful surfaced. An NDP spokesperson said while they don't vet every influencer Singh speaks to, the party is now reviewing how the campaign engages with online voices to ensure an alignment with their values. While the NDP is the first and so far only party to work with creators, the Liberals and Conservatives are also leveraging digital platforms to circulate their content. Most mornings, Pierre Poilievre unveils his latest policy pledge in a video posted first on social media, and it then gets recirculated to voters Canada-wide by candidates and supporters.
What do you think, Prime Minister?
Mark Carney's team has taken a similarly curated approach, with a digital team dedicated to posting content from Liberal events across platforms. But a party source didn't rule out working with creators as the campaign continues.
Who's ready?
Those watching how parties are trying to reach voters online call what's happening in this campaign experimentation.
We know that definitely these influencers are shaping our information environment in really meaningful ways, and connecting with them so that you can help guide that narrative makes a lot of political sense. Is that going to change people's opinions on its own? Probably not.
So far, the NDP strategy of rolling with online creators has reached a combined audience of more than 500,000 followers. Campaign officials call it a new way of doing politics. Heather?
Rachel, thank you. New numbers show support for the Liberal leader as Canada's Prime Minister is growing. A Nanos poll shows 50.9% chose Mark Carney as their preferred Prime Minister, while 30.9% backed Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Overall, the Liberal Party is at 45.5%, while the Conservatives are at 35.9%, and the NDP are at 9.4%. Let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapellos, now for more on the election campaign this week. Vashi, we'll get to that Nanos poll in just a second. First, there's another headline Mark Carney was forced to address today. This week, prominent Conservative voice Preston Manning wrote in the Globe and Mail that a vote for Carney is a, quote, vote for Western secession, a vote for the breakup of Canada as we know it. Carney saying today that's dramatic and unhelpful. So, Vashi, will that help quell feelings of Western isolation?
I think it's a good question to ask. It's important not only in the context of this election campaign, but more widely in our country as well. I think that the sentiment expressed, or that underpins rather the expression of Mr. Manning, is a valid one, is a real one among a number of, in particular, Albertans and Saskatoonians. I think the degree to which he took it to talk about separation, though, against the backdrop of this national crisis we face vis-a-vis the United States, the timing of that didn't make things easy for Pierre Poilievre, who also kind of shut it down when he was asked about it. So I do think it is an important political question, but the timing of it is problematic, you could say the least.
Okay, Vashi, let's go to that latest Nanos polling now that shows a cementing of the lead for the Liberals. But what could change that? We still have a few weeks to go.
Yeah, we do. We have 3 full weeks to go. I think the most significant thing I'm watching for is whether the fact that we escape those massive reciprocal tariffs, although we have many other in place, but whether the escaping of that allows for the issue of Donald Trump to recede at all from the debate and discussion that has enveloped this entire campaign so far. Does Trump remain the most dominant factor of this campaign, or does the kind of target being removed from our back in the same way it has been over the last 2 months allow for issues that are important and largely politically benefit other parties to rise in importance? If that is the case, I think other parties have a chance to kind of switch the narrative that we are experiencing at the moment. If it remains Trump, it's going to be an uphill battle for them, Heather.
As always, thank you for your insight, Vashi. Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says the strained relationship with the United States is permanent.
And that's my message to Europeans. The relationship with the U.S. will never be the same. They want to do things differently, and we understand that.
Melanie Joly was speaking at a NATO foreign ministers meeting in Brussels. She says Canada is putting maximum pressure on the Trump administration over tariffs and seeking new markets in Asia and Europe. Well, coming up, an all-wheel smash and grab. The terrifying moments of a brazen robbery attempt. Yet another brazen attempted robbery of a jewelry store in Toronto caught on camera. CTV's Alison Hurst on the shocking moves.
Go inside.
A truck slams into a jewelry store trying to bust through the wall.
Go inside, go inside.
Dash cam footage shows 3 people wearing dark clothes coming around the building as the truck barrels into the store. The terrifying moments playing out in Scarborough while the owners, their 3 kids and a customer were inside.
We were scared, right? Like, oh my God, like, again, they're trying to break into our store. My husband, we all freaked out. The kids and the customers were all like scared.
The owner asked that we not show their faces because this has happened before. On February 7th, someone tried to break in the same way.
This is unacceptable, honestly, to run a business and have to daily worry about if someone's going to, drive in.
It happened around 6:30 last night. Sabish Nada, who owns the business next door, heard the commotion.
I just heard a big bang, and I don't want to come out or anything, so I just seen my cameras. I seen a vehicle just back up into the jewelry store right there.
He says there were 5 suspects trying to get inside.
I seen a garbage bag, right? Yeah, that came out of the vehicle, and I seen a big hammer. Like almost like a commercialized used hammer.
The suspects did not get in, so they abandoned the truck, ran to a white sedan, got in and drove away. The owner says it was all over in minutes.
We already have like top-notch security cameras. We have grills. We have everything inside. It's just the outside. They just need to put them, those boulders. And I'm just terrified for my kids. The future is just... like we have to live in constant fear.
Fear that their store will be targeted again, and next time, someone could get hurt. Toronto police say this is still an active investigation. They say no one was injured and nothing was taken. The suspects remain at large. Allison Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Gas prices are expected to dip this weekend in many parts of the country.
A nice little optimistic welcome break of everything else going up.
Industry experts say the price of gas will drop because of the value of oil. Like much of the market has tumbled since President Trump imposed worldwide tariffs. Many cities in the country can expect a drop of 8 to 9 cents per liter. Still ahead, a taxing trickle-down effect. How tariffs against other countries are impacting Canadian businesses. Canada may have dodged Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs this week, but some Canadian businesses are still going to feel them as a result of the domino effect felt by suppliers abroad, now dealing with a new trade reality. CTV's Kathy Lee spoke with some entrepreneurs who shared why they're preparing for a potential impact. Kathy.
Heather, that's because the supply chains for some Canadian businesses run through multiple countries, including the United States. And if one of those other countries are hit by U.S. tariffs, ultimately that impact will trickle down to their business. The owner of Advantage Home Health Solutions sells medical equipment, and 30% of his inventory is manufactured in China. It's then sent to a distributor in the United States where it will be hit by a tariff, and then he buys the products through them.
I don't understand the reasoning behind tariffs. I understand the rationale, but I don't think it's valid. And I'm disappointed that we'd have to raise our price just because of that.
In another example, the owner of the Century Box sells board games and says almost all of them are printed in China. He gets his inventory from a Canadian distributor who gets their products from the U.S. after they've been shipped from China.
The game is made and its landed cost is $10. By the time it retails, it's going to be $40. So if you think of it, if it goes up to $15, the retail is going to be $60. We've basically just cut our margins to the bone, or will be, but if something comes across the border and we're buying it from a distributor at a certain price, it's going to get passed on.
Raising prices is just one strategy to stay afloat. These entrepreneurs say diversifying where they source their other inventory from is another, or finding a way to still get their goods from China but bypass the United States. Heather.
Kathy, thank you. If you've ever wanted a loyal companion that would hog all your attention, there's one looking for a new home in BC. This is Truffles, an emotional support pig who's up for adoption. As you can see, this little piggy might have picked up a few too many snacks at the market, tipping the scales at over 300 pounds, but he has a lot of love to share, is big on naps, and has a history of not eating his veggies.
Coming up on CTV National News.
Kamloops is what I like to call like a city with a small town feel.
The federal election story from conservative country, Kamloops, BC.
I think everybody's in someone's pocket one way or another.
What are voters in this home of sports tourism, forestry, and wine looking for from Canada's next government? Coming up on CTV National News.
In the countdown to Election Day, we are taking a closer look at the concerns of voters right across the country. Tonight, we bring you to British Columbia's beautiful Thompson Valley for a look at what's on the minds of voters in Kamloops. Here's CTV's BC Bureau Chief, Andrew Johnson.
How's it going today?
Friendly greetings and fresh meat.
It is local beef, Devitt's Ranch.
At Shop and Block in Kamloops, BC, people are hungry to keep their dollars in the community.
Everybody's asking for Canadian-made products, and it's really easy to answer around here.
In fact, most we speak to here ahead of the federal vote share the same beef.
Bloody New York real estate developers playing games.
But beyond that one issue, not everyone's on the same side in a city newly split into two ridings.
I would like to see change with Pierre, make drugs illegal again and do harder consequences for criminals.
Mark Carney and the Liberals are about building us up.
I think everybody's in someone's pocket one way or another.
Kamloops is one of Canada's sunniest spots, and for the past 20 years or so, this has been conservative country federally. It's a university town known for its sports tourism, forestry, and agriculture, including an emerging wine industry.
This is a hybrid varietal, so it does much better in the crazy weather that we get here.
At Monty Creek Winery, putting a cork in provincial trade barriers tops the election wish list.
Right now, we can legally only sell wine direct to consumers in Alberta, Manitoba, and I think Nova Scotia. It would be a huge boost. It would open up so many markets.
In the tasting room, election talk turns to some of the country's biggest challenges.
The family doctor shortage is really difficult for a lot of people. The price it takes for younger people to get into single dwelling or even condos.
There is a belief here voters right now are feeling very engaged in this community of just over 100,000, described as a city with a small town feel.
Thanks for coming in. See you next time.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Kamloops, BC.
That is our newscast for this Friday evening. Thank you for joining us. I will be back later tonight with CTV National News at 11. I'm Heather Butts. Your local CTV News starts right now.